welcome back to another episode of the MX Endurance Podcast, where we look at everything that's been happening in the world of endurance sports. My name is Tim Ford, and I'm joined by my good friend, James, the sexy shepherdess, the penultimate legend, the sexiest voice in triathlon, Bale. Jimbo, you're in a romantic new setting. How you going?
I am. It's story time with James Bale tonight, mate. I'm in my nice armchair with a cup of coffee at an airport just outside of Gatwick. How are you, man? How's life down there?
Mate, I'm coming down off a humongous high after the weekend. I know that you also experienced this, but we had one of the most jam-packed weekends of racing that we've had in so like it was incredible. Super League, there was WTCS racing, there was obviously 70.3 Worlds. It's been action packed. I stayed up way too late on Saturday night watching 70.3 Worlds, and I think it's now Thursday. We record on a Thursday, and I'm only just recovering after only having 3 hours sleep on Saturday night. I am an old man officially, but I'm doing well, mate.
So you
Old man
stayed up
Ford.
for it because initially we had a chat before the race, and you were like, "No, the Collins Cup crippled me. I can't do it again." And I noticed that you were still commenting and messaging quite deep into the race. I wasn't sure whether you'd seen the end.
Yes, I stayed up for it. I'm a, as I am always, I always say it on the show. I'm a self-confessed triathlon tragic, and yeah, having the 70.3 World Championships where there was just such a fire field racing, I couldn't really pass it up. I'll tell you one thing before we get to it. We watched Super League Jersey, and then literally changed the channel straight to, I think I was maybe 10 minutes into the swim. And what a contrast the broadcast is from the excitement of Super League to 70 point. It was literally just like going 100 miles an hour to do the cool down. Like it was
Yeah.
such a shock to the system. I was like, wow, this is very, very different.
I hear you. The commentary is very different at a 70.3 race than you get from that super, especially coming off the back of, we'll discuss it later, but what in my opinion was the best triathlon I've ever seen.
Yeah, we will.
To turn the channel to watch the 70.3 Worlds, which is more of a couple of mates just having a laugh over some racing and adverts, lots of adverts in there as well, which gets to me.
I know. And like when they have the speakers on, and it's like the owner of Ventum, and he's not on for like a minute, he's on for like 10, and you're like,
Yeah.
I get it. And then they do the same thing with the guy from Hoka, and I'm like, oh, here we go again. And I still think the funniest thing though was like as soon as I changed over, they were talking about Sam Long from Australia at the front of the swim. I was like, what? Sam Long's not a good swimmer. Like that's not right. And then Sam Long's not from Australia. That's like, oh, they're talking about Sam Appleton. They've got the Sams mixed up. But look, let's save the 70.3 chat for later in the show. Let's get this out of the way. James Bale, this podcast is the official podcast of MX Endurance, the world's premier endurance sports community, created by four-time world champion Chris McCormack. Jimbo, what's something that you like about MX Endurance?
Accountability, mate, from within the group. Because as you know, I laced up my running shoes this weekend, gone and did the Bristol Half Marathon, which is the first time I've done a race in anger for some time due to COVID, and it was an eye opening experience as to how much work there is left to do on my athletic abilities. So, but within that, mate, I finished the race, and there were a load of messages and posts on the group watching me watching my little avatar go around the course and get stuck at different places because they weren't working very well. And has he dropped out? Is he lost, etc. But no, I did finish the race. I finished the race a lot slower than I started the race. But thanks for the support, everybody.
I do like that. It's one of the factors I always feel when I'm racing is knowing that like there's a big group of the MX guys who'll be tracking you, and it's like this voice inside you has like I can't be shit, like because I know that they're going to be expecting me to do something good. So it's like okay, I better.
My brain was telling me not to be, but I definitely was. But no, made it to the end.
I would highly encourage anybody who hasn't already to go to bell.james85 on Twitter and check out. There's a tale of two races. He put up a post and it's like, what are you 10 kilometers in and then like close to the finish, and it could be two different people. Let's be honest. It's quite a contrast between those two photos. My wife.
The first one, I was composed. I was feeling good. I was like, I can maintain this pace. This is going to be a good race. The second one, I felt like I was running on two wooden legs. I had salt stains all over my
My
top.
wife said to me,
And
she's like, "Yeah, if you check this photo out, because it is not a good look. He is in a lot of trouble." I did a half marathon a few years ago, and one of my mates like, "Oh, we'll just go at like 3:45 pace, and it'll be okay." I'm like, "Yeah, sweet, I can do that." And I think at about the 14K mark, I exploded so hard and limped home. My legs were so sore; it was a nightmare. And we're back. We had a little technical hiccup there, but we've managed to reconnect, James, so you can still continue to hear my beautiful words, mate, and our listeners can continue to enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. Hotel Wi-Fi for you, mate. Hotel Wi-Fi
It's
dropped us out,
it's
didn't it?
just too
Kicked us out, much like it's going to me.
the sensuality of your setting. It was too much for the video to handle, man. It's yeah, people probably. This is actually a good point to acknowledge. We are finally doing this podcast as a video podcast. For everybody who's always referred to you as the sexiest voice in triathlon, now have to face the fact that you are certainly not the sexiest face in triathlon.
Indeed, I've got a face for radio, mate. Me.
Mate, not like I can speak, but
But annoyingly, you've hoisted this on me. You've hoisted this video format on me, and now I'm having to shave every week and put clothes on and stuff. It's it's not like it used to be, Tim Ford. The naked podcasting and unkempt look that I used to go for.
again, that's why it was such a horrible experience for me because I could always see you and I had to deal with that. It was no good. But now the viewers get to enjoy this as much as I do. But we are looking at one of the steps we're going to take after a little while. So we're probably going to make these recordings live for our MX members too. So anyway, enough about that stuff. We have got so much stuff to get through this week, Jimbo. The first thing we're going to talk about, we touched on this last week. I think we found this out just before we recorded the interview with Joe. So I thought we'd have a bit of a chat now that we've done a bloody Joe Skipper on. What is it having a fancy bloody pro triathlete who's actually potentially could win Kona talking about World Championships? Let's just have two nobodies talk about it because we can be a bit more spicy, I suppose. But that is the fact that Ironman World Championships could be moved out of Kona. But where would it go? Now, I got this from Kevin McKinnon at Triathlon Magazine Canada. And the reason I went to this article is because Kevin gave a list of options or alternatives to where it could be hosted. So he says, we're exploring every option, Andrew Messick said, that includes potentially taking the race out of Kona. That statement shouldn't really come as a surprise. After almost 2 years of race cancellations, Ironman is in desperate need of getting the World Championship out of the way. With a number of athletes who have qualified for the 2020 race all deferred, with even more now qualified for a 2021 event, they are also now deferred. They've got a lot of athletes who are ready to use their well-earned Kona qualification. Then there's all the athletes who are qualifying every week that Ironman is able to put on an event. Does this mean Ironman is thinking of moving the World Championships from Kona? Probably not. The Big Island is a huge part of what makes the Ironman brand so special. Qualifying for the iconic race in Hawaii is what separates Ironman events from all other triathlon races in the world. To me, as in Kevin, they have a nice balance with the rotating 70.3 worlds. So leaving Kona would make sense. So move next February would likely be a one-off. Unless, of course, there's not a lot of pushback from athletes, and Ironman finds itself in a position where they can make lots of money through hosting the event in different venues. The 70.3 worlds seems to be attracting lots of interest. Can you imagine what Abu Dhabi or Bahrain would pay to be able to host the Ironman Worlds? So where could it be hosted? US options. If Ironman was determined to put the race on in the US, one could imagine a number of sites in Florida, probably southern Florida, Panama City Beach. The site of Ironman Florida probably isn't warm enough in February. Claremont would be a great option. It's the closest hilly course you're going to get in the state, and already has a full distance race course in the form of the Great Floridian. That's a weird gobful. There are some sites that might work in Texas too. San Diego might work in February and would certainly make for a historic venue. The first triathlon was held there in the early 70s. The old Ironman 70.3 World Championship venue in Henderson, Nevada would be another excellent spot to host the Worlds. You've got Lake Las Vegas right there, and certainly more than a little accommodation opportunities. Mexico. If Ironman wasn't determined to stick to the US, you could certainly envision the race hitting a venue like Cozumel, which already has an Ironman event. There is the issue of a dead flat course, but for 1 year you could live with it. Would Ironman head back to Los Cabos? They held an event there from 2013 to 2017. South American venues probably aren't on any list as many countries are dealing with COVID outbreaks at present. Australia and New Zealand might have served as an excellent option in normal times, but with their strict border operation controls right now, both countries are out. Ditto for many Asian countries. Japan is likely still a bit shell-shocked from the Olympics. Africa remains a big question mark in terms of travel too. Europe. Over in Europe, Mallorca would probably be too cool in February, but Lanzarote would certainly work and features the most Kona-like course on the Ironman circuit. It is hard to imagine mainland Europe working. The average water temperature in Nice in February is 56 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is, but it sounds cold. And then the Middle East. Abu Dhabi has a long hosted major triathlon events, including WTCS Abu Dhabi and the long course Abu Dhabi International Triathlon. As mentioned above, it would be interesting to see if the United Arab Emirates capital, or Bahrain, might be interested in hosting the Worlds. Israel also hosts the Israelman every year in Eliat, which would be a worthy World Championship course too. James Bale, what do you think?
There's many things to unpack in this, isn't there? I mean, there's been a lot of resistance online. I've seen a lot of people coming out and not being happy about this, and I think there's an easy answer. There's an easy reason for that, and that is because there's two ways of looking at this. You know, you've got Kona being the historic home of long course triathlon. You know, and a lot of age groupers out there have had their hearts set on getting to Kona because it represents something in their mind. It represents a sense of achievement and a sense of history. As short as that history may be, it still is
Yeah,
there. So they've hooked themselves onto that, and the idea of having to race somewhere else, like Bahrain, for example, or anywhere really, is a bit of a disappointment, and they feel like it's a betrayal. Then you've got to look at it from the pro angle, which is it's a world championships, and it can't just be anchored to this one spot on a pro level because age groupers want to race there. I mean, we can't keep missing the the sort of top of our sport every year because we can't get to Kona. They need to find a solution and move it somewhere interesting. Now, somewhere interesting is my key takeaway from this. It's got to be somewhere. It's not just got to be the highest bidder. We don't. I don't want to see the Ironman World Championships in Bahrain. Because it's just flat and hot. I don't want to see it in Abu Dhabi. I don't want to see it in Dubai. I want to see it somewhere. I don't really want to see it anywhere in mainland US, if I'm honest, because it would feel like an existing race that was part of their existing calendar. I want to see it somewhere really unique and interesting and different, and make it feel special, so that you try and get over that hurdle of people going, "Oh, I don't want to go and race Ironman Florida as a world championship instead, or Ironman Texas. I want to go and race Ironman fucking awesome somewhere." What do you think?
I have a lot of thoughts about this too, and I think you've separated the two aspects, the pro and the people qualifying for a world championship. But what Kevin brought up in this article that I think is probably the third element to consider is the financial viability of it, and he's saying that they probably won't move Kona away from Kona unless there is no pushback, and that's what I think is the interesting thing to talk about when you unpack this, because if Ironman are good for one thing, it's about trying to maximize their ability to make a dollar. And I think what we could see happening is they would love the opportunity to separate Kona from the World Championships in the sense that Kona is always going to be Kona. I've said this 100,000 times.
Yeah.
Kona is Kona, and you're always going to have every man and his dog want to race Kona. If they could take maybe every second year, every third year, whatever it is, the World Championship element and rotate it like 70.3 worlds and make that race, wherever it is, an event in itself, suddenly you have two big ticket races that they can charge $1,000 US plus for people to go and do. Kona, I can see
Yeah.
Kona will exist forever, and you might have to qualify for it.
Well, I mean, you could even have it so that every fifth year, third year, fifth year, it goes back to Kona,
Yeah,
so that there is a World Championships in Kona every 5 years, and the years in between they're elsewhere at different, interesting, funky places, like Lanzarote, or you know, or Wanaka, or somewhere unique. Um, and you could do that from now. You could make that decision now and give yourself 5 years then to stabilize the world and get COVID gone and go back to Kona in a world that hopefully won't be battling COVID quite as we are now. In 5 years' time, they could make that decision and say, right, we're going to have a 5 year rotation and back to Kona every 5 years for a special one. Kona still happens every year for the age groupers, but it is not the World Championships until that rotation is complete. And you could make it really interesting, that you could shake it up, but they'd have to put a lot of effort into those races in between, being in different places and unique. I don't want to be racing 70.3 Weymouth as a full world championship race at some point.
but they've done that with 70.3 worlds. You look at every year that they do 70.3 worlds somewhere different. It's not a flat, fast course. Sunshine Coast in 2016
No.
is the perfect example of this. Sunny Coast is a flat, fast course. I think the winner went 3:39 a couple of weeks ago when he did it. When it was 70.3 watts, they added this big bloody hill into it to make it harder. Like that's what they seem to do. Look at the St. George course. The St. George course this weekend from in May, they made it harder. When they go to races for 70.3 watts, they seem to try to pick a challenging course. And I hope that they would take that and apply it to the Iron Distance or the Ironman World Championships. I've said it 1,000 times. I'm not sitting here saying we need to get rid of Kona, because I don't think we do. Kona is the Wimbledon of our sport. It is the pinnacle of our sport. But I refuse to believe that it is the special race because it is the World Championships. I don't think that's what makes Kona special. I definitely think it's part of it. And you know what? I can completely understand anybody who wants to go and qualify for the World Championships in Kona. But I wonder if the people, and again, I don't know. I don't do Ironman. I'm not interested in Ironman. I've been to Kona. I had a great time there. I don't want to do that race. Like, I have no interest in doing that race. I wonder though, if you took away the world title from the age group race and said, but you can still go race Kona, is that enough of a draw card? Because I think it would be. I don't know.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think for those people that have anchored their desire to go to Kona and race Kona, I think it would be. As long as Ironman doesn't withdraw investment from that race and make it less of an experience in itself, still make it the experience it is today, charge the premium price, even make it so that people have to qualify for it. Fine. But to maybe take the pro side out of it until, like I said, cycle it, bring it back to Kona for a big,
Every fifth year, like you said, 45th,
yeah,
50th, 55th, 60th anniversary, all those big anniversaries are always hosted in Kona. And then you have it the other years, the opportunity to rotate, try different courses, see how it impacts things. Because again, this has got to be one of the most divisive things in the sport. And it's like, I get it. I can completely understand it. But I also think that you're right. We need to separate maybe Kona is always the age group world championships, but then does it have to be the professional age group? Or does it have to be the professional world champions? Like, I just think, while we always talk about the best thing about the sport is, and I hear Bob Abbott say this all the time about how great it is we share the course with the professionals, which I agree with. I still think we need to start, if we really want to try to drive forward the professionalism, we need to stop relying on that as the be all and end all, I guess.
yeah. I mean, you don't see Wimbledon having an age group competition alongside it. You don't see. I mean, I'm not particularly au fait with how tennis works and how it filters up. Maybe there are some pub type players kicking around at Wimbledon, but no, you don't see at the Formula One. You don't see slower series racing on the same race as the F1 cars do. They populate the weekend around it. There are races around it, but they aren't racing on the same track at the same time.
I'm gonna give you a bit of a spoiler. I also think that if you took away the world title from Kona, you would still probably see an absolutely stacked field in Kona. Like, that's the other thing. I think if you timed it so that maybe the World Championships are in February, let's say, in a different location somewhere else in the world, I still think you get to
Devon.
yeah, Devon. Why not? You still get to Kona in October, and I reckon you're still going to see those big names on that start list because Kona stands on its own. I don't think, like, that's my big thing is, I just think that if and why I think this is probably a potential is because I see this as Iron Man going, we can actually double up here. We can take all that money for Kona, and we can just up the price. Basically, instead of making it a qualification race, baby, let's charge $3,000 to do it because people will pay it. And then we have the World Championship somewhere else, and people have to qualify, and they'll pay it. I don't know. Maybe that's me being cynical. I don't have the perfect answer. I think whatever they do, they're going to do it. They're not going to listen to us and go, they've worked it out.
Well, what they need to do is listen to me.
They should. I mean, everybody should,
I know the
James.
answers.
Everybody should.
Yeah.
Look, we could do a whole podcast about this, and there's so much more to talk about. So let's move on, uh, because we don't often talk about COVID cancellations on this show. It's like I like to avoid them, but I thought this one was worth mentioning, and that's the fact that World Triathlon Sprint and Relay Championships in Bermuda will not take place in 2021. Again, this is from Kevin McKinnon at Triathlon Magazine Canada. As always, guys, I encourage you to go to the website, like them on social media, click on their articles, support them. They're doing God's work for our sport. As they reported last week, it wasn't looking promising for the upcoming WTS and Relay Championships in Bermuda. Over the weekend, World Triathlon confirmed that the event won't be taking place this year. Bermuda was ready to welcome hundreds of participants from all over the world from October 15th to 17th. However, changing conditions on the ground demanded that program's safety plan be reviewed, World Triathlon said in a release. Using a tool provided by the World Health Organization, the organizing committee and World Triathlon conducted a risk assessment on the event. The analysis considered the island's recent spike in COVID 19 infections in addition to the Bermuda hospital's elevated COVID 19 patient intake, and the organising committee, in consultation with World Triathlon, made the decision not to proceed with the October event. The health and safety of all athletes, coaches, staff, contractors, volunteers, and the people on the island were the primary consideration.
Yeah, I mean it's a sensible choice if they've made that decision based on based using the World Health Organization's tool. Then yeah, of course, there's health and safety is the most important factor. It's a shame. I feel sorry for Flora Duffy because it would have been an event for her, a sort of homecoming, after her success this year. But most important thing is the health and safety of everyone involved. And at the moment, we are still living in a world where these things can happen. So. Well done for making a proactive choice, I would say, rather than any sort of criticism from me.
Exactly. Again, I just thought because it's a World Championship event, it's worth talking about.
You love your COVID
So
cancellations, mate.
much,
I have to
so much.
every week. I'm
The
like,
doc's
Tim,
full
can we
of them.
just stop?
You just go through, delete it. No, we're not talking about this. Not talking about this. Not talking about this. You're right. Now, James Bale. This next thing. This is almost a potential scoop for the podcast. I mean, I know it's not. The news is obviously out there. It's how we found out about it. But I think we're maybe going to be one of the first people to report on this, and that is we think we know who Lionel Sanders' new coach is. On his latest YouTube video, Lionel made mention several times that he has started working with a new coach who takes a very scientific approach to training. We know that Lionel parted ways with his on again, off again coach, David Tilbury Davis, a few months ago. And from what David told us on the show a couple of weeks ago, it was on good terms. But Jimbo, we have heard now from multiple sources that the new coach of Lionel Sanders is none other than Mikael Iden, the brother of two-time 70.3 world champion Gustav Iden. It looks like the two,
Ba, 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 ba.
yeah, exclusive. It looks like the two met at the Collins Cup and have now started working together. Now, this could be a rumor. I need to say this, but we've heard it from enough people, and some of those people who I consider in the know and consider reliable, that I'm willing to say that I think this is true. James Bell, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean it's certainly unique and interesting news, isn't it? Lionel Sanders I watched his latest YouTube video. I don't watch a huge amount of his YouTube videos, but I did watch this one because I was wondering whether this would be mentioned. And he keeps referencing his coach, and I'm just listening to the coach, and it's almost like he's had enough of having criticism from people like us and various other entities in this world who are saying he doesn't listen to his bloody coach. He just does all this random stuff because he just kept repeating, just listen to the coach. I don't just go out on my own. I'm not a solo like obsessive. I'm listening to my coach and I'm doing what my coach tells me, and I don't really care about the why. Now, cool, good on you. I hope that's the case. If he has chosen Michael Eden as a coach, then I hope that's for the right reasons, and I'm sure he'll get something from it. It's going to be interesting seeing how that relationship plays out and seeing what the results are. Lionel Sanders is a unique cat, and I would like to try and coach him, see what happened.
I think this is a good thing, mate. Like honestly, I think this is one of the you talked about him kept saying, I'm just listening to the coach. And like you say I don't think we've ever I don't mean to criticize, but like I hear that and I'm like, yes. Like this excites me. Like I think when we had Christian and Gustav on last year, you played them a clip of Lionel talking about Gustav and Christian. And you can tell that he's very impressed by what they've done when they've stepped up to the middle distance race. You could tell that he's I've seen him talk about them a lot on his multiple social media videos and things. He clearly looks at what the Norwegians are doing and he wants some of that juju, mate, if you know what I mean. Like he sees what they're doing. He's like,
Yeah,
I want to know, I want to do what they're doing. And I guess getting the brother of the world champion, it's probably a great way of doing it. Obviously, the Norwegians have Arvel, who's their coach, but you'd imagine Gustav has a pretty good idea about the systems, the ways. I know that they're a very scientific approach to coaching, and I don't think that's a bad thing for somebody like Lionel Sanders. Mikkel,
I remember playing in that clip, and what was their response? Yeah, we don't think about Lionel when we're training,
hmm.
which amused me greatly at the time. Now I think watching this video he put out, mate, I think he's getting to the point where he's got a bit of angst in him and a bit of chip on his shoulder because he was like people on bloody slow titch writing about what Frodo's up to. I know what Frodo's up to because I speak to. It was a moment of quite a bit of emotion came out of the man. Now I think he's getting pissed off with people reading into what he's doing and sort of telling him what he's up to, as opposed to just letting the actions and results speak for themselves. So good luck with the new coach, and I hope it comes off. I hope that we see some real upswings from that man.
One of the things I keep talking about why I'm so impressed with Lionel's trajectory this year is Like, he just seems to make what I think are smart decisions a lot of the time. Like, okay, we questioned whether he was, racing all those Ironmans was necessarily the best thing. It worked for him. He went from strength to strength, and I've been really impressed by that. But I think again, acknowledging he doesn't have the skill set to work out the best way for him to make those improvements and go out and seek someone that he thinks can help with that, I think is very good. I think that's a real positive. As I keep saying, he makes smart choices, and getting somebody like Mikel Eden, I think, is a smart choice. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited to see the result. Let's see what happens. There's no downside. So let's see. Hopefully we're right. Otherwise, we're going to just talk for 5 minutes and be completely wrong.
Yeah, exactly. His coach is actually me, mate. Reveal.
There we go. It's James Bale. Poor guy. Mate, the next thing we're going to turn our attention to was a little race that happened in St. George, Utah over the weekend. I don't know if you heard about it. I know that you were very difficult to chat with during the race. I don't know what you were doing, but it was the 70.3 World Championship events.
I can tell you what I was doing. I was driving up to Bristol for the Bristol Half Marathon in heavy traffic. So I was listening to the race over my car stereo, and I could only comment and give you any information, feedback of what I thought was happening when I stopped to charge my car up. So you were getting very intermittent responses from me.
Have you had a chance to look at the race yet?
Yeah, I've watched bits and pieces of it, and obviously I was listening to it, so I knew what was happening. I just missed the very end because we arrived where I was going, and I had to go and be sociable. I couldn't be the guy that hadn't seen his friends for 2 years and turned up and watched the end of a triathlon in their lounge.
I'm embarrassed for you, mate. Actually, that's what I would have done. Again, I'm a professional. I'm committed. I stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning watching this because I know that the listeners want to hear us badly explain what happened in the race. So I wanted to make sure that I can do that. Where do you want to start, mate? I have so much to say about this race. What a race! Some incredible performances, some surprises. Uh, I want to actually. I know where to start. I know where to start, James Bale. I know exactly where to start because one of the things I always say on the show is I'm happy to be proven wrong. And on the weekend, Lucy Charles-Barclay proved me wrong because I think on an episode maybe last year, I said that I was worried that she's going to be that athlete who is under Daniela Reef, and then by the time Daniela sort of moves on and starts to falter, the short course athletes like Katie Zafiris will step up, and Lucy just might miss out. I was wrong. Lucy. Why did I say Katie Zafiris? Lucy Charles Barclay absolutely dominated and has got that first well earned world title, and what a performance!
Yeah, I mean, I think we both have to eat some humble pie on that because we have between us, we don't agree on much, but we agreed on the fact that we thought Lucy Charles Barkley was that intermittent athlete that was gonna lose out to the end of Daniela Reef's reign and then get picked up by the shorter course athletes as they came up through the gears. And this race had potential to be the start of that. You know, if the race had gone a different way, then we could be sitting here going, we were right. If Taylor Knibb had beaten Lucy Charles Barkley today, or the other day, sorry, then we'd be sitting here going, well, there you go. You see, we said that the short course athletes were going to start coming up through. We weren't expecting it last year to be Taylor Knibb, but here we are, and that didn't happen. Lucy Charles Barkley came out with a performance of a lifetime, mate. She seems to have taken quite a jump, and I think we can put that down to her dabbling in some short course and that short course racing and training, perhaps unlocking some speedy potential in her run.
Speedy potential, mate. She destroyed the field. Like the thing I've said, we've had this conversation a lot this week. The thing that I am so impressed about Lucy Charles's, I'm just going to call Lucy Charles, it's shorter, performance, is the
Yeah.
fact that she had the fastest swim, the fastest bike, and the fastest run, and she did it solo. She did it fucking solo, mate. Like you think about that, it blows my mind that you think Jeannie Metzler had that battle to run down Taylor Knibb, but Jeannie Metzler is one of the best runners in the sport. Lucy ran like nearly 2 minutes faster than her solo. It it's incredible. She swam faster than Gustav Iden, and then she has just gone kaboom. See you later, ladies. I'll see you in Kona. Like it's out of control. What a performance!
Yeah, I mean, the idea of being able to put out those speeds and that performance as a race against yourself, as a race against the clock, as opposed to being, so she was being chased, but it wasn't really because she was putting time into everybody, or chasing somebody, or being in a pace line. You know, you're not she didn't get any drafting benefit from other athletes. She didn't get any inspirational benefit from other athletes who were ahead of her. She wasn't chasing anybody down. She came out the water first. She led on the bike and she led on the run, and it was impressive, beyond impressive. I would say. I think that she had. It was a masterclass in how to do that race specifically, how to win it, and how to really stamp her authority on a sport that looked like it might have been slipping away a while ago. Opportunities might have been, she'd had several second places, several podiums. Opportunities might have been slipping away as the second wave of athletes comes up through. But no, she's certainly laid the law down and said, "No, I'm here to stay," and here to stay she is, mate. Because we could be looking at a 70.3 world champion who has a very, very solid Kona in February, perhaps wins it, and then focuses on Paris to go for short course. And you could be looking at a Christian Blumenfeld type spread attempt.
And again, the other thing I'm thinking is the sub 8 effort that she's going for next year. Like, if she's got this
How
form,
quick can she go, bro?
man, honestly, I
Forking quick.
this that run, like the swim, yes, we know that she can swim incredibly. The bike, Lucy Charles is an incredible biker. But that fucking run is mind blowing. It is so impressive, and like I said, just to do it off the front, incredible. Judy Metzler, I would not have picked in 100 years to podium at the 70.3 worlds, and for that, I am again eating humble pie. Really gutsy, well thought out, planned, performed, delivered performance by Jeannie. Taylor Nibb, I think nobody's surprised to see her up there. I was surprised that she was, what was she, the sixth fastest bike split? I guess that comes down to the road bike on that big downhill into town, or I'm not sure. Again, doing most of it solo. Uh, Kat Matthews, fourth place, incredible. Like Kat Matthews, mate.
Yeah, I called Kat as my predicted for the win. I'm incredibly impressed with what she did to come fourth place. What was she? Third fastest bike split of the
Yep,
day. Um, and up there with a very, very powerful and very, very strong run. She's got limitless potential, and there's much more to come in her future, I
I'm
think.
excited to see Kat like race a world championship Ironman distance race, because we know that she's much better at that distance. And man, what a trajectory. Sky Monch was fantastic too. I think she had the second fastest bike split behind Lucy. Again, really good, um, planned, performed, delivered performance by Sky. Daniela Reef, I don't.
We got to give a shout out for a friend of the podcast, Nikki,
Sorry, I was going to get back to that.
in ninth place in a solid top 10 for Nikki. So well done, Nikki.
Yeah, but yeah, Daniela, I don't know. Again, I'm we. It's very look. It's very easy. I picked Daniela as my win, and this is that thing we always talk about that we shouldn't do. You need to look at form, not past results. Or like we had this latency bias. Well, not a like I don't know, not a latency bias. And I've heard a lot of people saying she's done. I've maybe said yeah maybe, but I don't know. I guess we're going to see. She's taken a break, and then I guess she'll start gearing up for whatever happens in February. But certainly wasn't the Daniela Reef. I know that at one point she was very close to Taylor Nibb, and I was like, no, here we go. This is the Danny show. This is what we're expecting. And then kaboom, off she went and didn't really feature again. There's a fantastic photo. I don't know if you've seen it of Kat Matthews passing Danny on the run. She's given her the look, and I was like, that's exceptional. Um,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people that we speak to within the sport, a lot of people that we know have a lot of authority in the sport, are saying, Daniela's she's cooked, but there's every chance, mate. I mean, she came off the back of that Ironman win recently. She may have just put a bit too much into her legs, and being the champion that she is, there is a chance that she went to win that Ironman because it was part of her structured training to go and win in February. And this was just a race she was going to do. And it's not at the top of her list of things she wants to achieve. She was refocused and put all her eggs in February's basket. She is an incredible athlete, and she may not be done yet. So let's not write off Daniela Reef quite yet. I don't think.
I think you'd be a fool to be honest. Again, you can't look at those, and I understand that she's had a few hiccups lately, but I guess you look at Yarn, and Yarn seems to mostly stick to the iron distance stuff these days. I mean, I say that after he's done Collins Cup and Challenge Miami and Gran Canaria Challenge, but maybe Danielle is going to become that. I'm just going to focus on iron distance now, like race less, because I don't know. I don't know. It's very easy to sit here or whatever, but I think we need to go back to Lucy because Lucy deserves so much praise for that performance. I think all the women do. We said the women's race was going to be the pick of it. I think it was. I think the women's race was fire. The battle for second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, like that whole thing was fantastic. Seeing Jeannie, that 20-second gap that Taylor had on her and held for kilometers or miles was fantastic. And man, I want to go do that race so badly. St George looks like such a good spot for a race, hey?
It made it look stunning. I had a friend of mine, Andy Schleiss, messaging me some because he raced at the weekends. Well done, Andy. But he messaged me some pictures of a hike he went on the day after, and those red rocks, mate, they are stunning. What a beautiful part of the world. We definitely need to go and do this race. It's a 2023 race for me and you, I
I
think.
think so too.
I want to shout out Taylor Knibb as well, who put a 2:18:26 on the bike on a road bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was still people hadn't learned. They hadn't learned from the Collins Cup. There was still talk of her road bike being the wrong choice, and people were saying, "Yeah, she's on a road." I mean, but no, she's got the form, she's got the power, she knows what she's doing, and she would have, I think, had a worse performance if she sat on a shiv, let's say, that she wasn't used to, and put too much force through her shoulders and held a position she's not used to. So well done, Taylor. Hell of a bike ride.
So first place, Lucy Charles-Barclay, 4 hours, 19 seconds. Second place, Ginny Metzler, 4 hours, 8 minutes, 38 seconds. Again, 8 minutes between first and second. Third place, Taylor Knibb, 4 hours, 8:49. So that was, 11 seconds. Fourth place, Kat Matthews, 4:10:45. Fifth place, Emma Pallant Brown, 4:12:10. Sixth place, Sky Monch, 4:12:49. I'm just going to go to minutes now. Jackie Herring, 4:15. Holly Lawrence in eighth, 4:16. Ninth place, Nikki Bartlett, 4:16. 10th place, Anne Reichman, 4:17. And 11th place, Daniela Reif, 4:17:33. Nothing else to talk about, was there? Nothing else happened in St. George?
De nada.
De nada. Moving on. No, obviously, Norwegian domination, mate. The men's race, much like the women's race, was a smash fest, an absolute smash fest from Gustav Iden. I picked
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it was. You did annoyingly. You did. I'm claiming the women's because my pick in the women's finished 6, 7 places higher than yours, so
That's
I'm
fine.
claiming that one as a victory,
That's fine.
despite it being wrong. But yeah, the World Championships on the men's front, mate. It was. Yeah, Gustav Eden. What a performance. My pick, Daniel Beckengard, was up there on the podium. So I'm pleased with that. I can take some solace from that because he hadn't been in the conversation between you and Joe before I mentioned him. And I'm glad he was up there. Well done to Sam Long for coming in second place. Fantastic effort. But Gustav Eden, mate, he just keeps showing, doesn't he, that he's like the perfect specimen for winning 70.3 world championship men's races. He's kind of got that. I don't know whether whether he is as adaptable as someone like Christian Blumenfeld is, you know, or whether he just is a 70.3 world championship winning machine, and that's all we're going to see from him for fucking ever.
But James Bale, ITU athletes can't ride bikes fast because they only ride in drafting. What has happened here? Because Gustav Iden rode the fastest bike split of the day. He got, what was it, about, I don't know, 60K, not even 60K in, 50 odd K in, and he just put the fucking hammer down. And he did a number on everyone. Magnus Ditlev, who again, Uber biker, was like 40 seconds or 30 seconds down on him. And then Sam Long, who had to ride through the field to catch up to everybody, was 2 minutes behind him. Like, this guy didn't win. He didn't win this race on the run. He won it on the bike. And everybody was saying, oh,
Yeah,
they're going to have to attack the Norwegians on the bike to have an impact. I think I even said that maybe.
yeah. You
Good
did,
luck.
yeah.
Good luck
We
to
all did. We
you.
all did, yeah.
Because he must have heard and gone, you want to beat me on the bike? Try. And they could not
Yeah.
because he did just watching him on the bike was like, fucking hell, he's moving. The other thing as well, like I picked Gustav and then I said Christian and then Daniel. So I did pick Daniel on the podium. Thank you very much. I got first and third. I wouldn't have picked Sam Long for the podium, and he again incredible performance. But I can't but help one. What was that group doing, letting Sam right up to them? Like I can't. I still to this
Yeah,
day
agreed.
it baffles me that if you've got an athlete like Sam Long, who can bike and run the way that he can, who has that weakness in the swim, get out of the fucking water and you burn every match to put 5 minutes on the guy. Like it's the one thing that I'm still wondering, like, why did that happen? I mean, fantastic for Sam that it did. And I don't know whether they could have actually done enough damage on him to stop him from running through, because he is such a gritty athlete. But it was the one thing where I was like, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. I expected Daniel to probably run a bit better. When I saw Daniel and Sam off, I was like, this is Daniel's, he's second. And I was surprised at how quickly Sam broke him on that downhill. Sam went down that downhill like a man possessed. But man, and then there's like Mickey Tagholt. I had never even heard of him before. So to come fourth like that, what a performance. Like, absolutely incredible. Jackson Laundry, who we saw at the Collins Cup, have that great race with Joe Skipper, come fifth. Incredible performance. Like, mate, there were so many incredible efforts at this race. Again, what do you reckon?
Ben Canute, mate. Ben Canute looks pretty bloody good on a TT bike as well, doesn't he? You know,
Yeah.
aero-wise. It may not have been the fastest ride of the day, but he just looks like a very solid bike rider. But I think we've really got to reference and emphasize the quality of Gustav Iden's bike ride with a 1:58.58. You know, he was the only athlete that went under 2 hours on the bike.
Nope, that's incorrect.
Oh, really? Who else? Oh, sorry, yeah, Magnus Ditlev. Fucking sorry, Magnus.
And he's going to hear this too.
Yeah. Sorry, Magnus. 31 seconds. 31 seconds. You went under 2 hours. Well done, buddy. One of only two athletes to go under 2 hours on the day, with a 1:58.58. I mean, we know Sam. We all praise Sam Long as a hell of a bike rider, but putting that sort of time into an athlete like Sam Long on the bike, amazing.
Yeah.
And like you just reprimanded me for, Magnus Ditlev is one of the strongest, if in my mind, the strongest biker in the sport. And to be able to put time into Magnus, even when we know Magnus was coming off the back of being ill the week before, but still, you know, he went out there and he biked the house down, and Gustav still put a bit of time into him. So Gustav was on form, bro, and then he ran a 1:11.
The other one we have to talk
1:11.
about. We have to talk about. I know it's crazy. Is Christian Blumenfeld, who I was so excited to see that Christian Gustav race again, foot race, because I think that probably when Gustav went, Christian probably could have gone with him or thereabouts. But Christian had a mechanical. I don't think it was a flat. It feels like there was something else that happened with his wheel. So you look at the bike splits. He's lost about 15, 17 minutes. So Christian finished in 27th. But that's the only thing that's just like, imagine those mates, Christian and Gustav, actually having a proper battle for like 21K, knowing the way that Christian runs. You know that Christian would have gone for it at the start. And I have this image in my head of Gustav just doing his thing, just looking like smooth butter, running, and eventually running Christian down with, like, you know, a couple of K to go, breaking him.
It would be a very interesting contrast between two different styles of racing.
Yeah.
You've got Christian looking like an Orakai out the front, just giving it some, and then
yes,
and Gustav just floating along.
You could have gone with Viking. You could have gone with Viking. That's the obvious choice.
And then you got Gustav just floating along with keeping with the Lord of the Rings analogies, like an elf just floating along behind him, just looking serene.
God, he looks good running, doesn't he?
I can see Gustav taking it. He does. He's got that touch of Georgia Taylor Brown about him when he runs.
He is. No, that's 100% correct. They look the same running. Gustav Iden's the best 70.3 athlete in the world. I think he's better than, even, and I know that's a big call considering Christian has the world record. I think Gustav is like, he's a natural at that distance. I think we talk.
Yeah,
he's
designed for it. He was made for it.
He's a specimen
because
he's always
70.3.
He's always up there or thereabouts in the Olympic distance stuff, but he just doesn't seem to have that tip, that little bit of whatever you need to really deliver on the run. But at this you don't need it, because you can just run the way he does and run through the entire field like he seems to do. I think the only time he's lost the 70.
Remember watching Daytona?
Yeah.
Watching Daytona and watching him just cruise through everybody. It was like because no one was really talking about him. Yeah. He was jogging like me and you would jog to the shops.
Again, comes to the race on a road bike, everyone's like, the hell is this? He wins it. And they're like, oh, imagine if you rode a TT bike. He does. He rides the fastest bike split of the day. Absolutely destroys the field, wins the race. Well done, Gustav. So first place, Gustav Iden, 3:37. Second place, Sam Long, 3:41. Third place, Daniel Beckergod, 3:42. Fourth place, Mickey Tagholt, 343. Fifth place, Jackson Laundry, 343. Sixth place, Ben Canute, 343. Seventh place, Eric Lagerstrom, 344. Eighth place, Magnus Ditlev, 345. Ninth place, Sam Appleton, 345. 10th place, Philippe Azevedo, 347. And 27th place, because we have to talk about him, Christian Blumenfeld with a 359. The next thing, because we're still on St. George, mate, there's one other thing I want to talk about. And this is one of, if not the most impressive thing that happened at 70.3 Worlds over the weekend was para-triathlete Lauren Parker finished 70.3 World Championships after a pre-race trip to the hospital. I got this from the ABC News, which is Australia's national broadcast. Again, I think one of the only athletes who can get like proper mainstream media attention for triathlon. Now, this again, guys, this is incredible. A brutal dose of sunburn saw Australian para-triathlon star Lauren Parker taken to hospital pre-race, but could not prevent her from completing the hardest event of her career at the 70.3 World Championship. 3 weeks after her Tokyo Paralympics silver medal, Parker finished the half Ironman distance triathlon in 7 hours, 54 minutes, 43 seconds in St. George, Utah on Sunday. Lauren said the event was harder than the Hawaiian Ironman World Championship, where she finished second in her age group 6 years previously as an able-bodied athlete. The 32-year-old from Newcastle became paraplegic after a 2017 bike accident. Lauren was preparing in the Las Vegas heat for the 70.3 event when she had to wait in the car after a training session. She had her feet on the dashboard, and because Parker has no feeling in that part of her body, she did not realize they were being scorched by the sun. Parker had to spend time in St. George Hospital for treatment. She had third-degree burns. Nurses Marcy Nell and Sydney Slack and Dr. Carl Van Gils from Intermountain Healthcare also worked with race officials to help Parker through the race. The two nurses dressed her wounds after the 1.9 kilometer swim and the 90 kilometer bike. They were unbelievable. I couldn't ask for a better support system here, she said. I'm sore. It was the hardest race, the hardest course that I have ever come across. I've raced Kona twice and it was harder than that. My arms were killing me, but I got it done and it was a great experience. It will make every other iron distance easy. Parker said she had to stop at times on the steep hills during the 21.1 kilometer run leg. An unusual storm also brought heavy downpours and gusty winds. So Lauren is the 70.3 para-triathlon world champion, and she did that after spending the week in hospital with third-degree burns on her legs. What a performance, James Bell.
Yeah, an amazing performance from an astounding athlete, someone who is setting the standard in para sport. I also want to give a shout out to the two nurses who volunteered their time to be part of her process and help dress her wounds within the race, before and during the race and afterwards, and help look after her and make sure that she was able to give the best she could within the context of what had happened to her feet before the race. Because without that volunteering from them, I mean, America is not somewhere that you don't get healthcare unless you pay for it. So having people volunteering their time is important. So well done to those two, but most importantly, well done to Lauren. What a race! What a hard competitor she is, and there's a lot more to come from her, I think.
Well, again, you think about that course, mate. It's not flat, and you're not running. She's in the wheelchair. It can't have been easy. I mean, again, it's just mind-blowingly impressive, and to do that with like proper third-degree burns. I've seen photos. It was not good. And she had to go back to hospital to have treatment done on the legs after the race because they were in such a bad way. So,
Yeah, I mean, she put a post out on social media saying that there was, before the race, she was being told that she would have to have toes amputated
yeah,
because the burns were that bad.
yeah.
Um, but with the help and support of the people that got her through it, they look like they've managed to avoid that. So all the best, Lauren, for getting better and recovering. And if you can put out that sort of performance after that experience, then there is no stopping you.
I'd encourage everybody go jump on social media, give Lauren a follow because she is like just man, yeah, she's fantastic. I'm such a big fan of Lauren's. So go give her some support. Tell her you heard about her on the MX podcast. Now, next thing, Jimbo, there's another race that happened over the weekend. There's so many races that happened over the weekend. Neither of us actually watched this event because I think we were a bit too much triathlon. But this is the 2022 WTCS kicking off. Again, you didn't miss here. The 2022 WTCS event in Hamburg. But friend of the show, MX Endurance member Tommy Morwood has wrapped up the race nicely for us. So I'm going to Refer to what Tommy wrote for me, and we're going to find out all about the race. Only a month ago, we crowned the 2021 WTCS winners. However, due to what can only be assumed contractual obligations the WTCS has with various host cities to hold events, it was the case of the show must go on. So rather than take a long break and wait until the new year, last weekend's event actually officially kicked off the new 2022 season. Holm, Paquette, Richard, Helwig. Haven't heard of these athletes? That's fine. Unless you closely follow junior racing, then no one has. Due to a bizarre clash of events having been rescheduled for this weekend with 3 different event organisers, the who's who of triathlon royalty were off racing at either Super League or the 70.3 World Championships. This left the door wide open for a new generation of athletes to make a name for themselves in World Triathlon Championship racing. With so many debutants, yeah, it made for exciting viewing, given there were so many unknowns with everyone's capabilities. The race was over the popular sprint distance, so the pace was red hot right from the starting hooter. The men's race. Hoja from Japan led a small group of 6 out of the water, which included Jonas Schomburg, Chase McQueen, and under 23 silver medalist Helwig from Germany. The lead was only 14 seconds though, so it wasn't long before the entire men's field was all together in T1, and it was a bit of chaos. The field was full of nervous tension, completely expectant given the vast majority were not used to racing at this top level. And with so many nervous bodies packed into transition, it wasn't really a surprise to see many athletes running into each other, dropping glasses, getting penalties for not doing up helmets, and several athletes getting swept up in the excitement and running past their bikes, having to then try to double back through the field, running at them now pushing their bikes. It definitely wasn't a sight we're used to seeing. The leaders just managed to avoid the collisions for most part and quickly got organised, riding well together. One name, big name in the field, Leo Bergere. Do you know him, James Bell? You familiar with Leo Bergere?
Yeah,
The Shepherdess.
the shepherdess
Number
was on
number
course.
5 in the 21 world rankings was just off pace in the water. They managed to ride up to the chase. The gap would hold at 15 seconds for the first half of the bike, but a motivated chase pack would make the catch with a few kilometers to go. Pace was on and the power was rich, with lots of single file riding following the technical course. 32 men riding together, all strung out. 8 seconds from the front of the pack all the way back to the huge snake of bikes. The effort left little hope for anyone to even attempt a breakaway, so the scene for an epic 5K run as they busted into T2. Despite running at a cracking 2:55 pace, there were plenty of early surges, resulting in the field splintering. A lead group of 7 out front and hungry. With the best resume in the field by a long way, all eyes were on the shepherdess himself, Bergere from France, who was up the front and biding his time. Though with so many young, passionate men eager to make a name for themselves on the world stage, the attacks just kept coming. No one could get away, and no one else was getting dropped. Down to the final 500 meters, Richard was out in front. Then Bergere took the lead. Then Paquette came to the front only to be replaced by Priester round the outside on the blue carpet for a few hundred meters, and we're blessed with a sensational 4-way sprint finish that came right down to a photo finish. As athletes crossed the line, they were collapsing from insane pace. The finish area was littered with broken bodies. The slow-mo replay at the finish eventually confirmed that Helwig of Germany managed to take the win, barely a nipple in front of the Georgian from France, with Leo Bergere rounding out the podium for third. Gold and silver going to 2 very young men in the new international stage at this top level. There you go. That's the men's
I
race.
love how you read out the his note on how to pronounce Richard. That's made my day. That has. But no, yeah, that I didn't watch this race, and it's good to have a review from someone like Tommy who does pay so much attention to the WTCS. When we were going into this, when they announced that the race was going to be on the same weekend as the 70.3 Worlds and Super League, I was worried that was going to dilute those two races because the WTCS would have such a draw for the athletes that wanted to race, wanting to win the WTCS championship, and and need to race the WTCS. So I'm pleased to see that there were some of the bigger names stayed away and raced Super League and raced 70.3 because, like Tommy said, it gave an opportunity for some new athletes to come and have their day here. And I always like to see the shepherdess out on course
Me too.
because yeah,
Be a spirit animal.
it's good to yeah. Shall I read the women's, mate?
Please do. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Despite many pros absent at either 70.3 Worlds or Super League, the women's event definitely featured a lot more of the WTCS regulars than the men's event, which really goes to show the depth of the current women's professionals. Nonetheless, Lindemann, Rappaport, Casper and Jackson were some of the big names all hoping to capitalize on the situation. Olivia Mateus, Lindemann, and Rappaport were all out of the water together first, with just a few seconds gap back to the rest of the field. A quick transition from Casper and painfully slow bike mount worthy of a first timer from Rappaport meant that Casper was able to quickly join the leaders and have a crack at a four-lady breakaway as they rode away. However, the chase were having none of it, and 4 quickly became 18 as they snaked their way through the streets of downtown Hamburg. A new trace group then formed, however. The Germans were out to impress their home crowd. 4 of the German women were up front in the lead group, all working hard and keeping the pace rich enough to extend the lead over the 20k bike, which included notable Hamburg course-specific icons, like a giant 5-meter tall inflatable beer the athletes had to U-turn around each lap. Rappenbauer, as usual, was riding shotgun at the very back, and as the field entered T2, she really paid for the price for her positioning, coming out on the run dead last from the leaders, 8 seconds down, and with a lot of work to do to make up for it. Lindemann was the first to make a move straight off the front and beaming with confidence. Rappaport, though, 1k in, had really started to find her groove and was quickly making her way through the field. Before the halfway mark, she was out in the front. As Rappaport continued to power on and pull away, only 3 others were able to hold her pace: Lindemann, Van der Kay, and Bagmeier from Hungary. The Hungarian was first to drop off, though was able to ultimately hold on to claim fourth. Back up front, Rappaport kept making small surges trying to break Lindemann and Van der Kay. However, all 3 women were running strong and no one was giving up without a serious fight. Down to the final 300 meters, and Lindemann put in a monster effort. A 5-meter gap opened up, then quickly stretched out to 10, then 20 as she hit the blue carpet. Roared home by the home crowd, the former junior world champion and under 23 champion took her first ever major championship series win to add another title to her already impressive resume of results. Meanwhile, Rappenpohl was paying her price for earlier surging, and the Kiwi Van der Kay managed to slip past her for silver. The top 3 all running under 16:20 in an impressive display of speed. So it was gold for the German women, gold for the German men, and the following day the Germans would also take up gold in the mixed relay. Mate, I wish Simon Rappenpohl was better at biking.
Yeah. It's something. It's yeah. Yeah, it's not like it's one of the biggest components of the sport that you do or anything like that, is it? Yeah. Well, look in.
So,
Thank you,
wrapped, reviewed, and done.
Thank you, Tommy Morwood. Big shout out. It was good. Edge of your seat listening. I'm sure everybody enjoyed that. So there you go. I actually am going to watch that race on the trainer this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that.
Just for the beer. You just want to see the inflatable beer, don't
I
you?
actually watched Hamburg. I watched Hamburg from a few years ago the other day. I actually spotted Meyer was in the race. And yeah, there was a big beer on the course, mate. So I love it. Looks like a great place for a race. The year I watched it, people fucking everywhere. Looks so good. I guess it wasn't like that this year with obviously this little thing that's been happening.
People fucking everywhere. They should keep that sort of stuff at home, mate. They really should.
It's European thing, I guess. You're a lot more liberal than you are in Australia and the UK. But mate, we're on to the final race of the weekend. And this is one that I'm extremely excited to talk about. Is Super League Triathlon Jersey. Now, the first thing that came out about Super League Triathlon Jersey was Christopher McCormack tested positive for COVID and wasn't actually able to join the commentary team. We got the message from Chris. What was it, like Thursday? He's like, I've got fucking COVID. I can't leave my hotel room for 2 weeks. But
yeah, Macca down. Not
down.
only is the implications on the Jersey commentary, but also means he's not going to be in Malibu, doesn't it?
Correct.
So it's the commentary booth does not have Chris McCormack on it in the Jersey weekend or the Malibu weekend.
But what a race, mate! Like again, I cannot believe how exciting these races were. The women's race maybe for different reasons to the men's race, but maybe we'll talk about the women's race first because I have a lot to say about the men's race.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about the women's race first. Like you say, it was a tale of 2 races. They were both very, very exciting, but for very different reasons. And that's the beauty of Super League. It creates a dynamic where it's not just the race itself that is the exciting thing. There are other elements playing a part. There are short shoots, and then there are the implications of taking a short shoot maybe when you shouldn't have done. And then the entire Super League team scrambling to understand
Their own
what the
rules.
fuck do I do when someone what do I do when someone takes a short suit when they weren't meant to, but then maybe they thought they had one because they might have been told over the loudspeaker they had one by the Super League team itself. So it was a very unique situation. We had Jess Learmonth out front, dominating, and we had Georgia Taylor Brown matching her step for step. And two of the best women in the sport at the moment racing shoulder to shoulder across this distance was amazing to see. The confusion over the short shoots will be resolved by the next race. They're going to put some new rules in place and make it clearer for everybody. Now, things started getting interesting, didn't they? When Georgia Taylor Brown rode into an inflatable barrier, which was which is a massive fuck up, wasn't it? I mean, she ran out of talent.
She's fallen down a flat tire at the Olympics, crashed in London, crashed in Jersey. Summer Rappaport needs to work on a bike, and it sounds like Georgia Taylor Brown does too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I felt sorry for her in that moment because it wasn't a bike handling error. It wasn't pushing too hard on a corner. It wasn't slipping out. It wasn't not being able to go through the technical sections fast enough. It was simply looking down at her feet
Just not looking where you're
as she
going.
was trying to clip in. Yeah, and just riding into an inflatable barrier and going arse over onto the floor. Now that put pressure on her, I think, and perhaps put her head in a space where she was like, what do I do now? I've got to chase Jess down. I've got a short shoot, haven't I? I can use it to gain a bit of time. She used it, and then she was told there was a hullabaloo on the commentary, and everybody goes, she hasn't got a short shoot, has she? And then it was soon became apparent that they were going to disqualify her for taking a short shoot that she hadn't formally been given, but that she'd heard she'd have over the loudspeaker. So there was confusion there. Now, for me, there are two elements to this. There was how I felt in the race, and we were talking, we were messaging each other.
Yep.
Now, in the race, when someone's been disqualified and they're being told they're disqualified, I was a bit annoyed. I was like, "Come on, you've been told you're disqualified. Get out the race." Because I don't like this new trend that seems to be where athletes are DQ'd and yet they finish the race anyway. Because their very presence on the race course, if they're going to be disqualified, in my mind, has an impact on the other races. You made a very good point to me via message that if she'd been disqualified and pulled out the race, those people chasing that then came past, however long later, seeing her by the side of the road, knowing she's not in the race, now know they're racing for second. So that might have an impact further down the field. But after the race, when she made up that
Yeah.
time by doing the short shoot, and then it became clear to us, to all that were watching, because they put it on the broadcast that the guy, one of the officials, was saying, "Oh yeah, it was the announcers that made the mistake." Once that became clear, and it became so blatant that it wasn't just her fuck up, it was actually, at least 50-50 with the race organization and Georgia Taylor Brown, because she'd heard that she had a short shoot. And then she made the time back up. I'm glad she was reinstated. She was so far ahead that it didn't have a huge impact on the rest of the field in that instance. And I think it was the right decision to make.
I agree with you. I think her presence of mind to go, I'm going to do that extra loop to make up the time. I was like, that is again. I think that she was in a very distressed headspace when she had that tumble. She suddenly lost time to Jess, which you don't want to do. And yeah, I can completely understand it. I've seen the criticism. I've received criticism about my opinions about the short shoot and things like that. I still think it's a great thing, and love this or hate this, I still think it added an element to the race that was exciting. I'm very happy to hear that they're going to make things clearer. We've been discussing a lot with Macca about what his thoughts are about it. I think there's still a lot of room for improvement, but it's here to stay, and it did have an impact in a exciting, controversial, whatever way. It was something. It was this. Oh my god! Like, what does this mean? And that it just yeah. I think they made the right call. I think she deserved to not be disqualified, considering she did that extra loop. I think that was what was like. She's not made any advantage. She's not really impeded anybody behind her or anything like that. I thought it was absolutely fair. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and the pressure's on in a Super League race. It goes to show that this style of racing is not simply a race. You've got to be able to think on your feet.
yeah,
You've got to be able to maintain a clear head when you're under pressure. Now, there's two sides to that within this story itself. That was the fact that she didn't maintain a clear head when she took the short shoot, but then she had to bring herself back into a clearer frame of mind and think, right, I fucked up. What can I do to try and make it so that my appeal at the end is going to stand? Oh, I'll do an extra short shoot. We've got a dynamic of racing here that is more than gun to tape, and there are aspects. It's a three-dimensional form of racing, and I love it.
same.
So on the women's side, we had Jess Limonth taking first place, Georgia Taylor Brown in second, and Cassandra Beaugrand on the podium
Big,
after
yeah.
quite an absence.
Great for Cassandra because we've been questioning what's been going on with Cassandra. So to see her come third, it's great to see her starting to come back into some form because she's so good at this stuff, mate. So I'm really happy with that.
Excellent. Excellent. I meant I agree. I wasn't. Congratulations on your opinion.
Thank you.
Season standings are Jess Limont in first place with 45 points, Georgia Taylor Brown in second place with 42 points, Vicky Holland in third place with 33, Beth Potter in fourth with 33, Katie Severas in fifth with 33. They're split by their placings, all the way down to 10th place, Rachel Klammer with 18 points.
Men's race, mate.
Men's race.
Men's race.
Fuck me. Fuck me. Was this a race?
Was this a race?
Hey?
My God. And again, you know what made this race so good? The fact that Vince Louis had that short shoot and the guys knew it.
Yeah.
That short shoot is what made this race happen. This is the best finish, the best Super League race I have ever seen. Edge of my seat, excitement, and James Bale.
You've caveated it with a Super League race. I'm because I know that you're a big fan of the 2018 70.3 World Championships.
I am.
I'm gonna say this is the best triathlon I've ever seen.
I get it. I
was screaming at the TV.
James.
I was screaming at the TV, and you're right. That team of athletes, they had to work to get Vince to go kaboom.
And he did. And he did.
Was negated. And he really did, didn't he?
Ooh.
He blew.
James. I'm a bit thirsty, mate. I feel like while they were on the bike, I sent you a message and I said, Yee's got this. Yee's going to win this race. And you said, no, it's Hayden. I said, look. I love Hayden Wild. He's a friend of the show, friend of ours. But this is Yee's race. And you said, nah, bullshit. Let's have a beer bet. So I took you up on your wager. I won, mate. I won. And I noticed that you didn't reply to my message that said, I'm parched. There was no reply to that message, James Bale.
I thought that was just a joke about Jess Learmont's interview from last week.
It was. That's kind of what I was referencing.
How close do you live to Will McCloy? Do you live close to Will McCloy?
Close enough. I can't drive there at the moment, but no,
but you will be able to at some point because I owe you both a beer. What I'll do, I'll buy a crate of beers and have them delivered, and you can split them.
Deal.
Because I owe you both a beer for various bets we've had over the last few weeks at various races. So I'll sort that out.
But goddamn, this race was fire. And it was literally what you said. They knew that they had to break Vince because of that. You can't give Vince Louis a short shoot and expect to have a shot. And they did everything they could. And Hayden attacked, and Alex and Johnny and that went with him. And then it came down to run. And Hayden went out of that transition like a man possessed. Like literally, like he's just gone. And just watching Johnny and Yee slowly run their way back up to him over the course of the 2 laps. And then to have that finish, my God. Like, if you are listening to this and you have not ever watched a Super League race, this is the triathlon you show your friends who don't give a shit about triathlon to make them care about triathlon. This was incredible.
Yeah. Or it's the event you take them to, because as much as it was exciting watching on TV, imagine being there in the crowd roaring, because Jersey is I don't know whether you've ever been there at a Super. You haven't, have you? But it's packed. It's like an amphitheater, that bit in front of the hotel that they turn into, the finish line and the start line. It's incredible. It's packed with people, and they must have been screaming and shouting at this sprint finish. Now, we both said we like the short shoot. We like what it brings to the race, and we've had a lot of detractors and a lot of commenters and a lot of messages, some polite, some not, saying that the short shoot is just boring because it means that whoever's got it wins the race. Now this race showed the evolving nature of how athletes at this level are coming in to tackle the race to either get the short shoot so that they get that advantage, or then if they haven't got it, how are we gonna negate the importance of that short shoot? Now they did that by breaking Vincent Louis. You break Vince Louis, and then you have the best fucking sprint finish I have ever seen in a triathlon.
It was so good.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Hayden was out front, and I was screaming at him because I wanted him to win it so bad. And then Johnny started coming. I was like, well, Johnny's got this, isn't he? Because he got round that final cone first. And I thought, well, that's probably going to make the difference. But when the camera zoomed out you could see that the distance to the finish line was further than he wanted it to be in that moment. And as Yi came past, you saw the moment his heart broke, and Yi took the tape. What a finish! What a finish, mate.
Man. And again, like, yeah, talk us through the standings of the season, mate, because that's the next thing I want to talk about.
So the standings of the day were Alex Yee in first place, Johnny Brownie in second, Hayden Wild in third. That leaves the season standings with Jonathan Brownie in first place on 41 points, Hayden Wild in second on 40 points, Alex Yee in third on 39, Vince Louis in fourth on 37, Vasco Velasa in fifth on 33, all the way down to Max Studer in 10th place on 14 points.
Come on, Johnny Brownlee. Come on, Johnny Brownlee. I want Johnny Brownlee to win the series now so much. I love Johnny Brownlee.
We got ourselves a game, haven't we? We've got
Oh,
ourselves a game. As opposed to on the women's side going into Malibu, yes, there is a chance that Georgia Taylor Brown could take the series, but it's looking likely that Jess Learmonth is going to, especially with the current form that she's got and how she's got the perfect amount of points to this stage.
it's double points,
On the
isn't
men's
it?
side,
Malibu's double points.
I'm not sure, but on the men's side, we've got ourselves a game because we've got the top three within 2 points of each other.
One point each, isn't it? 40, 41, 40, 39.
I basically turns out I can't count. So the top three are within 3 points of each other, and then Vince Louis is just behind on 37. It's anyone's game, mate. It's all to play for in Malibu. It's who wants it more now.
And Malibu has made some additions to the starting list too that I think we have to talk about, because Malibu, obviously, the grand final is this weekend. And when you think, if you listen to this show, when you think Super League can't get any better, they make it better by adding Flora Duffy, Lucy Charles-Barclay, Christian Blumenfeld, and Gustav Iden to the start list. Wow.
Yeah, they brought in some firepower, haven't they? They brought in some firepower for the Malibu Triathlon. What an event it's going to be. They're going to be racing the eliminator format, which means 3 rounds of swim, bike, run, with a 2-minute break in between each stage and a set number of eliminators from the back of the field after each bike and run leg. So you're going to see a field whittling down to that elite group who are racing for the win towards the end, which is, this is what we said they should do in the Collins Cup, or not in the Collins Cup, in Daytona, wasn't it? Was start reducing the field and eliminating those lapped athletes. We're going to start seeing that. The women's eliminator race at local time starts at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, the 25th of September, and the men's eliminator race starts local time 2:45 p.m. on Saturday, the 25th of September. So again, as per Jersey, bear in mind it's the Saturday, not the Sunday. Don't wake up on the Sunday having missed the race. We've got, like Tim said, it's the same start list that we've had for all of the other races, apart from the addition of Lucy Charles-Barclay, Flora Duffy, Gustav Iden, and Christian Blumenfeld. It's going to be one for the ages, mate.
Flora Duffy won the eliminator in Montreal, so I think that's going to be, again, I don't know what she's been doing since winning the WTCS and the gold medal, where her head's at. She obviously didn't race St. George over the weekend, much to my disappointment. But yeah, she's in red hot form, and I think that if anybody's going to, firstly, if anybody's going to challenge Jess in the swim, it's Lucy Charles. We know Lucy's transitions leave a little bit to be desired, but my excitement's pretty high.
My prediction for that is that you're going to see Lucy Charles take the swim out, but it's going to create a bigger gap. It's going to, and Jess Learmonth is going to be able to hold on to her feet if anyone can. You can have a bigger gap between those two in the field. Jess is going to drop Lucy through transition and take the victory, and Lucy Charles is going to be caught, I think, on the bike and start moving back down through the field at this style of racing, having just won the 70.3 Worlds. I might be wrong, but I think Lucy Charles's addition is going to be to Jess Learmonth's benefit,
Like we saw,
it was to Maya King-Mars in Leeds. Yeah.
The men's race, however,
and
yeah,
fuck knows what Christian and Gustav are going to do. Eh?
Exactly.
They're just going to rock up and give it some.
I mean, I have to go with Christian just because it's Christian, but I also then am like, I don't know. Vince is going to be really angry after what happened last week. And again, it's only the last race that really counts. So it's like they're going to be going relatively easy to start with, and then kaboom for that last one. That last one is going to be fire. I am very excited about this. I need to check what time it is actually locally for Australia, because it'll be Sunday morning, I think, and I'm normally running Sunday morning, so I might have to reschedule some things.
Yeah.
God, it's going to be good.
It's going to be exciting. Everyone should watch Super League Malibu to see what happens and watch the finish of a fantastic series of racing.
I'll tell you one thing that is a little bit, and again, I think it's a fantastic concept, but has turned out to just be a little bit like, oh, okay, the teams element, only because those fucking Eagles have destroyed, destroyed the competition. They're currently on 275 points. The Scorpions in second with 196 points. The Sharks in third place, 189 points. The Cheetahs in fourth place, 163 points. And rounding up the bottom, the Rhinos in fifth place with 150. If you take the Eagles out, it's a battle. But those fucking Eagles are so far ahead. Like, it's just become a bit of a like, okay, whoever, yeah, they need to reevaluate how they got so many red hot talents onto that Eagles team, because it is, God, they've been good this year.
They really have. The Brits with Vicky Holland and Jess Learmonth doing well on the Eagles front.
Take it away.
Welcome to the down low on the PTO. Now you did this week. I normally do the PTO side of things, but you did this. I'm going to let you take the lead.
Well, obviously, people who are massive geeks who listen to the show, like ourselves, who are up to date with the happenings in the world of triathlon, they check the PTO rankings as often as I do. I've literally been on the PTO website 25 times this week, looking at results, looking at stats, looking at rankings, looking at points, looking at all sorts of things. Uh, and one of the things that I've been very excited or curious or, excited is the right word to see is what's going to happen with the rankings. Danielle Reef is currently number one on the rankings, but she's had a few poor races. She's had some great races, but what impact are the Collins Cup, 70.3 Worlds, and things like that going to start to have on the rankings? And it's one of those things a lot of people scratch their head and go, I don't really understand how the rankings work. And the PTO put out a graphic this week on their social media, which is the PTO rankings explained. And I thought, even if you've heard it before, I think we've had Charles explain it, whatever. We're going to run through it again just so everybody's up to date, because I believe, in fact, by the time this podcast comes out, the rankings might have already updated. I hope so, because I've literally checked. People think I'm joking when I say I'm a geek. I'm a massive nerd for this stuff. But let's go through it. The rankings explained. So eligible races, non-drafting races greater than Olympic distance with a minimum prize purse are considered eligible for PTO world ranking points. Then they use something called an ideal time. The PTO determined the theoretical ideal time that the top ranked athlete would achieve for each eligible race based on an analysis of historical data. Adjusted ideal time. An algorithm is applied to modify the ideal time based on course conditions on the day. To determine the adjusted ideal time, the AIT, PTO ranking points are based on measurements against the AIT. Keeping up so far? I think so. Athletes receive 100 points for equaling the AIT. If faster, they earn an additional point or fraction thereof for each 0.15% by which they beat the AIT. If slower than the AIT, they lose an additional point or fraction thereof for every 0.15% by which they are slower. PTO World Rankings for the 2021 year are based on the average world ranking points from the three best races over a 13-month period from December 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2021. The $2 million end of year bonus pool will be divided amongst the athletes based on their final PTO World Rankings on December 31st, 2021. What do you think is going to happen, Jimbo?
Go. Bit of a demystification there, isn't it? Now these ranking, they've been criticised from some quarters because some athletes are like, look, if I'm winning a race, why do I have to push right to the end to try and get my ranking point up? I would argue because you want to try and get your ranking point up,
Yeah.
and that's is how the rankings work. And if you want to get your ranking point up, then you push all the way to the end. We saw that in the Collins Cup. We saw the points per team were decided on how quickly athletes finished compared to others, and how they would get bonus points for that and finishing ahead of people. And it's a similar concept, but broader across the season. Is the faster you can go, the more ranking points you're going to get, and ultimately that's going to start driving up the quality of competition and sort of promoting the professionalization more so of the sport.
You know what? I've had an epiphany that people might have, now that we're video, people might have seen the lightning hit my head. We spoke about Lucy Charles being so impressive because she went off the front. I wonder if, there's this, she knows how close she is to that number one ranking. She knows Danielle's having a bad race. She knows where she is in the points. I wonder if she's done that to maximize her points to improve her ranking position to try to maximize her Indy bonus. What do you reckon?
There is every chance, mate.
Yeah.
Every chance that was going through her mind. When you're on a day, why not maximize that day? Especially if the 70.3 World Championship
And there was
you've got to do afterwards
thunder, and there
is,
was lightning, and there was hail, and there was a sandstorm. So you know that those ideal conditions aren't going to be very good. So that time should theoretically be quite slow. And she fucking crushed it, mate. She could wipe the floor with that performance. So
yeah. There you go. Tim Ford, the answer to all life's problems.
that epiphany, mate. I feel good now. Now that I've worked that out, I'm proud of myself, and I know you're proud of me too, James Bale.
I am.
And if people want to be proud of me, or they are proud of us for doing such a good job with the podcast, and they want to support the podcast, James Bale, they can head to mxendurance.com/podcast, where they can sign up for one of our podcast memberships, get some access to a whole suite of benefits, including a bonus monthly show, which you are recording with Christopher McCormack any day now. Yes, this is me reminding you on air to organize that episode. You also get access to our partner discounts, our community, our experts, a whole suite of benefits. It supports the podcast. It's how we allocate budget for it. It's how you'll get us at races, doing things like we were going to do at the Collins Cup and all sorts of things. Pats us on the back a little bit. You can sign up for an annual membership. It's as little, I think it's $3.40 a month. If you do the annual membership, it gets you all the bonus episodes that we're going to do, plus all the ones we've done. I think we've got like 16 bonus episodes at the moment. You can also sign up for 1 month, use the code, or it's 2 months, use the free code, download the episodes and leave if you like. But I think if you get behind that paywall and you see the gold content we're putting out on that bonus monthly show, you'll probably stick around because most people have so far. I know that this one you're going to do with Chris is going to be fire. You're going to be talking about the short sheet. You're going to be talking about 70.3 was. It's going to be great. So mxendurance.com/podcast. James, if people want to find out other things, what do they need to do?
Well, thanks for listening. If you want to find out more about MX Endurance, head to mxendurance.com or search MX Endurance on Facebook or at MX Endurance on Twitter or Instagram. If you want to follow me, I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram, or you can follow Tim at tford14 on Instagram. Jump onto iTunes, give the show a review. You can do it in the podcast app, and it really helps the show out and is super easy. If you like what we're doing, tell a friend, help us grow the podcast. If you've got any suggestions, guests, or comments, send an email to podcast@mxendurance.com. What are you laughing at?
Your microphone is obviously directional, and you've been holding it the wrong direction throughout the entire recording.
I know. I noticed.
because
I noticed
you're so loud
about.
now.
I noticed about 30 seconds ago as you were going through the PTO thing. I was like, "Oh shit, I'm holding the microphone wrong. Oh shit, I've been holding it wrong the whole episode." So yeah,
it's what made me laugh because I was like, "Oh my god, it's like he's gone to another level."
we're back to normal levels of volume now. So I fucked that up. So hopefully my sound isn't too bad.
Nah, it's fine, James. We'll fix it in post now. We've got our fancy video editor. James Bale, a pleasure as always. We'll be back next week. Until then, thank you very much.
Cheerio.